call the select board meeting and public hearing for Monday, July 14th to order at 6 p.m. Start with the public hearing. We have a entertainment permit application for Songo River Queen located at 841 Roosevelt Trail. Any questions, concerns for this permit? Would the owner like to speak? Doesn't have to. Okay. Number 2 is a new business license for Skin by Cara, located at 4 Meserve Street. Anybody here for that one?
Tell me where Meserve Street is?
No. Not the road commissioner. That guy is.
No,
You don't know either? And you're the town manager?
I've only been here for 7 weeks.
I know it's
It's across the
Is
street
it?
from
Dr. Barter's office.
Family Dollar.
In that street.
Oh, right.
That doctor's office
Thank you.
in there.
Thank you, Steve.
That's because I looked. I had to.
Number 3 is a new business license for Blue Bookkeeping, located at 38 Chaplain Hill Lane. I do know where that is. If you don't, okay.
Yes, thank you.
It's up to the end of Middle Road. Yep. And we also have a liquor license for Lake Region Caterers, located at 940 Roosevelt Trail. Yes?
We're located at 18 Kingsville Road. Hi.
I was hoping you would explain it.
Yeah, we're located at 18 King Hill Road, but we travel around. So this is just like for the state to know what we're doing. It's pretty standard procedure. It's not like, you know, the license, usually you have to have the select board, and each town is different.
Yeah.
But in the past, I've come down, gotten it signed by the town manager, and then that was it. I don't do too many bars in Naples, but, so, and we're in 18 King Hill Road, but we're not doing the bar there, we're doing it at the library.
Okay. So this address is for the library. And
Correct.
It's a one-day event.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's
Okay,
it?
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for that one? We'll move on to the meeting. Please rise, salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Review of meeting minutes from June 23rd. Need a motion and a second.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the June 23rd.
Second. A motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
One abstain.
You're gonna abstain?
I wasn't there.
I thought you was on Zoom.
No, that night. Couldn't make it.
Okay. 401, Town Manager's Report.
Okay, so I sent you all a copy of it, so I'm just gonna highlight some things to keep things moving. On the proposed rec center, we issued a contract to Sebago Techniques. There's tentatively scheduled for 7/22 to do the digs and the soil testing. And the tentative completion date for that work is 8/4. On the RFID project at the transfer station, the transfer station manager reports that it only works approximately 50% of the time, so obviously that's a pretty big issue. Reached out to our IT provider, which is Kevin Woodbray, and asked him to partner with Casco's IT provider, which is the computer place, to resolve the issue, and they both agreed to work together. It took a little while to get everybody talking, but they're all talking back and forth with one another, so they're gonna work on trying to get that issue fixed. Fiber optics, have a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock to sign the contract. There's been some modifications. The town lawyer looked at it. They accepted all of the proposed changes, and the down payment was lowered. Originally, we were doing almost 90%. Now it's down to 33%. East Falls, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Destiny Lane on this cistern project. We have also sent information off to the town attorney, having her review some historical information on that. Once we get that back, we'll have steps forward and what we're going to do next. The historical building, we have issued a purchase order, well, not a purchase order. We've approved having work done on it, and the material is on order. And that's to focus on replacing the fascia, which has been damaged. There's a lot of bent metal if you walk around the building. Repairing the soffits. Broken PV siding is going to be repaired. There's some outlets that need to be repaired. Window needs to be leveled up and fixed. And then we're going to do some work to keep water from running in through the carriage door. And I'll come back to that. On the finance side, we're going to talk tonight about the health insurance policy, but Pat's also been working on the retirement plan. She's done a lot of really good work there. Hoping to get all of that resolved here next 30 days or so. The FY24 audit continues. The auditor's on vacation this week, but we're hoping to get it done by end of July, early August. Recreation, they're really busy there. Katrina's been updating the website calendar to include the summer events, so just encourage anybody, if there's anything that's going on in the town, make sure you copy Katrina on it so she can keep the calendar up to date. And like, I know they're doing concerts down on the causeway and we don't know about it, and so we can't put it on the calendar. So I don't know who's coordinating that, but we need to get a list of those on there as well. We've got the summer green stuff on there now. And we've also added the transfer station shutdown dates on there. There'll be 8 more events for the summer concert series on the Village Green. They're all on the calendar now. August 9th is the annual Antique Boat Show, and August 10th is the Naples 5K. For maintenance, there's a total of 62 days scheduled for roadside ditching. Weather and other things have gotten in the way of some of that, so that's all that's doing is extending the season. They're working on the Songo School Road, and then after that, they're going to the Gore Road. For the fire department, Deputy Chiefs Doe and Morrison met with Dr. Worths, and we need a new medical director, and she has agreed, and they've signed the contract with her, so we have Dr. Worths set up. And marine safety, they're averaging about 30 hours of patrol time per week. And for those that know anything about the buoy situation, that's mostly resolved. They picked up a bunch of the equipment last Thursday, I think it was. Animal control office, the power steering system in the vehicle failed almost immediately, and we had to send that off for repair. That's been fixed, and the unit's back in service. And then on the transfer station, several residents complained about a lack of notice for them closing on the 3rd. And we talked with Tony Ward from Casco, and then also the transfer station manager. That was a planned shutdown date. Problem was just notification and letting people know about it. So that's why we have it on our calendar now. Still going to require some work on making sure that when they get close to those dates that they do some postings that people know what's going on. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was Senator Collins reached out to us to find out if they could have some office hours here where they could do a posting and meet with people from the area. And what they'll do is they'll help anybody who's having issues interfacing with federal agencies, so like the IRS, the State Department on passports or visas, or Social Security Administration. And if you don't have an issue with that, I think that would be a good thing to offer people. It'd be about a half-day event. So, looking for feedback from you on that. And
Are they looking for just a one-time thing, or once a month, or what?
from what I can tell from the email, I asked the same question. It looks like it's one event. They're just trying to get around to all the communities and give an opportunity for people to come in and talk to them.
Do they have a date in mind?
Yeah, August 12th, I think. Yeah, August 12th.
Is that a go? That they decided on that?
If we say yes, we're good with it, then yeah.
Should we just say yes right now?
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
Seems like this is a good time to say yes.
You guys?
I don't care.
Steve's fine. It's
Okay.
5 citizens.
I'll let them know.
Go for it. Put that on the calendar too.
Yeah. Yeah. Cheer that, put it on the calendar. All right, I'll reach out to him tomorrow. That's all I had.
Thank you. Anything for the manager?
Couple of things. Our last meeting, we talked about, in fact, Teddy talked about maybe having fireworks in Labor Day. Any more words on that? And the other one was attendance policy. We talked about trying to put something together for an attendance policy.
Yep. So we went and looked, and there's a couple of them, I sent you guys examples of it, I think, that showed where some of the committees had attendance policies. We could go back and revise all of them to have the same policy, the ones that we can, right? Elected officials, we couldn't do that for, right? You'd have to change the ordinance, and some of them, there is no ordinance establishing them, right? So there's no document to change. But for all the other committees, we could go back and modify either their charters or ordinance that created them, that sort of thing, and we could do that.
It just seems to me if we volunteer or are elected to a committee or board, we ought to show up as often as we can. I realize we can't possibly make every one of them, but
Well, the language, it looked like it was identical on the ones it's in. So if that's what you want, then we can start modifying policies and bringing them in for your approval.
We never sat down and actually looked at bylaws, did we? I know last year we kicked around the idea that got pushed to the right a couple times, that we're gonna review all the bylaws for all our committees and see what was what. But they just need to be dusted off and updated.
I'm from York originally, before I came up here, and they have quite a policy for attendance, so you might want to hit on the town manager down there to see what they've implemented for attendance for meetings and boards. Just as an example.
Let's see what ours is first.
Yeah. We already have one. Maybe we can just polish it.
Yeah, I sent you guys the language, I think, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. If you're okay with that, just let me know. Like I said, we can start modifying policies. It'll take time. There's some boards, like I just found out last week, like the PLUC, they sent me their bylaws. But a lot of them, I don't know where that information would be. I don't know if it exists. So we might have to create some stuff too after the fact.
Start by finding out which committees don't have a
Yeah.
policy.
Okay.
I think the latest one we just did was events committee, right? That's the last one we approved.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the transfer station. This Thursday at 6 o'clock, there's a meeting in Casco at the Town Hall on the transfer committee, station committee. And on the agenda is, I think we're going to end up having a big letterboard sign established up front, like we have down below, stating in big black letters what dates that transfer station is going to be closed. And also on the agenda is the bulky waste RIF tags. I think we're going to have that resolved, I hope. So that's Thursday at 6 o'clock in Casco.
I got a question. What's the deal with the RFID tags? Is it our system? Is it the system that was just bought and installed? Is it under warranty? Like, how come they're not fixing it versus our guys are fixing it?
Well, I
And
think
does that void warranty if we're screwing with it?
well, that's part of the issue, is that warranty, and it's not that old, and they're working with that company that brought that in, but our people really don't necessarily have technical expertise.
Well, our IT guys, Kevin Woodbury,
Yeah.
Woodbury Associates, I don't know who Casco uses.
They're both working together.
What's that? Taylor White?
Both
Yeah, probably.
companies, yeah.
Yeah, Jason was doing a lot of support of that, and he had some IT skills, and with him gone, it seems like the support that they were given kind of started to fall apart, and that's why we reached out to the IT companies and said, shouldn't you be helping? So, hopefully they can make more progress more quickly than, Tony and I could. trying to support that, so.
Keep us updated.
And then the only second one I had is, we started using, and I think it was working well, was an email system from the town to update the residents if something was going on, or events, or a closure or something, if we can try to get back to that. I know there's a sign-up list still on the website, so I don't know how
Yeah, I
many
saw that.
people signed up, but I haven't got an email in a few.
One of Steve's points was about the fireworks this fall. An idea came from Colin, actually. He was not Zooming at the last meeting, but.
I couldn't make the last one, but yeah, I just want to make sure if we're going to roll over money, that we roll that over and maybe use it for that versus just sticking it back in the general fund and it doing nothing. But I think there's more news to that than I was privy to last conversation.
Some of that money's been allocated for projects, according to Jason. So that's why I sent you guys the update list, so you could see where Jason said the money was coming from. So last time I sent you something on that, Ted, wasn't it? Like there was 23 grand there, but it was probably double dipped on.
Yeah, we was under the impression there was still 18 left in that fund, and
Yeah.
I think going forward, if the town manager's gonna allocate funds out of the selectmen's account, let us know.
Yeah. Should be a vote from you, but we can work on that.
Some things we don't know about.
One thing that did come up was because next year is the 250th anniversary, we're fortunate, we have a contract already with the fireworks company. The fireworks company was warning people that there's going to be a bunch of people standing in line with nothing next year because they're going to be that busy. And recommendation came up from the rec director to increase the budget. I think it's 16,000 next year to 20,000, so that we could add some more, make it a little bit bigger. So,
Well, and to guarantee us a spot with the fireworks company.
yeah, well, we have,
Yeah, we're in contract.
yeah,
We're in a contract with them already.
yeah, this was a proposal to
Right, we don't want
increase.
to lose them.
Oh, no, but he's just talking about next year. He wants to add 4K to the show next year. But how many shells does that get us, do you know? I know last contract, I think we upped it.
25% more.
Yeah, we
Right.
have to have more shells. So I'm curious what that shell count is for an extra 4 grand.
I can find out, I don't know.
If it comes out to, 19, maybe we go 4,200.
How long is that contract for anyway?
Is it last
It was a
year?
3-year contract, I think next year might be the last year.
Yeah.
My only concern is if we're gonna do Labor Day, we're mid-July, and Labor Day unfortunately is not that far away, so.
Well, Colin's idea was actually Columbus Day, because we did.
Columbus Day, that's
We did
fine,
that
too.
a couple of years ago,
Absolutely.
and it was great.
Yeah.
It worked out great.
But I didn't see that list, Randy. I don't know what the expenditures were, but it sounds like there's no more money in there.
I don't think there is.
So I don't think we'd have to pull that cash from our current select board fund, which I'm not sure I'm a giant fan of because it's
Right.
pretty early in the year.
It's early, yeah.
Get out your checkbook, Colin.
Shit. 16K.
Anything else for the manager? Public participation. Anybody here wishing to speak before the select board tonight?
I do, but I'm not sure it's appropriate now to do it. Is there any way we can meet the executive session?
Gotta advertise it,
It's gotta be advertised.
yeah. That'd have to be the next meeting, John.
So I just got a text from James Westcott, the erosion on my property.
Yeah, you come up,
Sorry.
just so everybody can hear you.
I just got a text from James Westcott regarding the erosion on my property. I'm a little concerned with supposedly the plan's done, they're not done, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, long story short, I'm very concerned about my liability down there. That bank is extremely unstable. I had 2 kids over the weekend down there playing on it, and I had a fly fisherman today down there standing on it. And it's 6 feet of straight sand down to the water. I mean, this needs to, we gotta do something about it. I mean, it's a liability.
Randy, wasn't you communicating with somebody about finishing that park over there?
Yeah, so he's got 2 issues. One's the dry well, and then the other one's the erosion issue. I've been focusing on the dry well. The erosion one, I talked to TU and they basically said that they were engineering a solution for that and that they would have it done by the end of the summer. But other than that, I wasn't involved with that piece of it. The focus was the well.
And the end of the season for in-the-water work is middle of October, so if they're gonna have an engineered design in September, they can-
Well, in one text message, he said he had it done in June, and I just got one now, they're still working on it, so, I mean, the stories have flip-flopped in 3 months.
It was supposed to be done, the work itself was supposed to be done by the end of the summer. So,
Can you follow up with him,
oh yeah, absolutely.
stay on top of that?
Yep.
So we can get this problem solved?
Yep,
Well, in the meantime, the liability is what's worrying me. I don't need a kid down there getting killed.
Right, no, we don't want that, definitely. Yep. So, yeah, if Jim Westcott, right, is that who you're dealing with? If he could, move that along sooner than later, because, like I said, the in-the-water work has to be done by October 15th.
Sorry, I'm not completely familiar with that area, that spot, but can signs be put up, like trespassing or something like that, so that if there's some liability is relieved?
It hadn't been a problem until this weekend. The kids went down there, scared the death out of me, and it's like, I wasn't too concerned about it, because James had been kind of saying they're gonna get it done, and then the last couple of months, it's been not moving.
Should something like that happen, you think, maybe for now, to help keep people away from that spot, or?
Definitely, but I just want to keep the project moving.
Yeah,
so the other-
absolutely, no question, but
All right, thanks for your time.
Yep, thank you.
would that be on the town to put up those signs?
Well, it's your property, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you want to put the signs up? Do you want us to get the signs to you so you can put them up? Do you want us to put them up?
Yes, I can take care of that. My problem is the liability.
Yeah.
So this issue was created because of the dam removal.
Right. Yeah, no, I get the big picture, I'm talking about the immediate issue,
Yeah.
like you said, the liability right now.
I was thinking of a snow fence or something, put up along that whole back. One of them orange snow fences.
If they're gonna be in the water this summer though, that must still fall under the same permit.
No,
They're getting a new permit to,
I talked to the DEP today to find out if they had been moving along, the answer was no, and a whole new permit has to be filed, because it wasn't under the umbrella of the project.
I was thinking of stone on an umbrella, it'd still be covered in that line, insurance rider. Yeah, that's not the case.
Permit's only good for 90 days.
Oh, on the shoreline.
Anything else from the public? Moving on. We can make an adjustment to the agenda if you guys want to. Do you want to move up the Adam Sturdivant to speak about the health insurance so he can get out of here? You guys okay with that?
Sure.
Good, down there? Okay, we'll do that next. You're up.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Did everybody get a copy of the information I sent over to Pat about the changes in kind of the process? Did you have a chance to look at that in advance?
Very bad.
I think it was in the packet that went out last week, but I'll give you a real brief overview, and then if there's questions, certainly let me know, interrupt me as you want. Again, my name is Adam Sturdivant. I work for a company called Northern Benefits. We're a brokerage. I work with businesses throughout the state and into New Hampshire on employee health, dental, vision, disability, life, etc. Worked in this field for about 35 years since college. Worked for Blue Cross, Unum, full disclosure, because I am going to talk about Blue Cross. I was a Blue alum as well as a Unum alum, so I do have some bias there. So that being said, just quick overview of what we looked at. We looked at the under 50 group market as compared to what we're doing today. Under 50 is guaranteed issue. We meet all the standards of the Affordable Care Act for those plans. The ACA, often referred to as Obamacare. What that really means to the consumer or to the member is it's a guaranteed issue product, so there's no medical underwriting. You can't be refused for any reason. There's no pre-existing condition limitations. So if I'm diabetic, for example, I'm a type 1 diabetic, I take insulin. If I came on, I'd be immediately covered. So there's no waiting period for those benefits. It's unlimited lifetime maximum, with some exceptions. For example, physical therapy is one that's limited to 60 visits a year for, like, if I had to have my knee worked on and I needed therapy. But when I think of major medical hospitalization, et cetera, there's no lifetime maximum on those benefits. And we also meet with the 11 essential health benefits that fall under the Affordable Care Act, were just things like prescriptions, major medical, surgery, anesthesias. Those are basically the guidelines that they put forth in that. And lastly, it also falls under what's called mental health parity, which just means that we treat a mental health or a substance abuse diagnosis the same way we would any other biologically based illness. It used to be that there was you might have a separate deductible, a separate limitation of benefits. It's no longer separated. So those are kind of the overviews of what we looked at for the Affordable Care Act, and just we follow suit. We want to make sure it's a quality plan. The process is fairly simple. We go through and we look at the small group market. So we reviewed Anthem, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield. We reviewed Harvard, which is our current carrier that we're using right now. We reviewed alternative plans for them, what other plans are out there, pricing, benefit levels, et cetera. We looked at Maine Community Health Options, which is the nonprofit co-op out of Lewiston, and then we looked at United Healthcare. As we reviewed those, Anthem was the best priced and overall probably the best coverage. And I did a couple of blurbs on the bottom. One of the reasons why Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield makes sense for us, it has the best single network of providers in the nation. About 94% of all doctors, labs, et cetera, participate with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So that really gives you a very good single source network of providers. It's the same network that Maine Municipal Health Trust uses. I work with other municipalities that have been in the health trust. We always look at that. It's a very common thing to look at. I think from a competitive advantage to make sure we're keeping employees happy, or to bring on a new employee, another municipality would be that group that we might either bring someone on for or lose someone to. So it's important to have a matching network, and that's another reason why Blue Cross is good. We're going with what's called a PPO, or a Preferred Provider Organization. The PPO acronym basically means that I don't need to have a family doctor. I can go to any doctor I want. The difference is if I participate with Blue Cross, they'll file claims for me and they'll accept charges as paid. Meaning, if I go to a surgeon and they charge me $2,500 and it's a $2,000 bill that Blue Cross normally allows, that surgeon being in network, they're going to agree to those charges. So that's basically a PPO, and it's a national network. So if I want to see a specialist in Boston, as long as they participate with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, it's the same as I'm seeing a specialist here in Maine. So really a nice network, and one of the reasons we looked at that. There's some pricing in behind that. So we looked at originally we talked about a 7-1, but timing being what it was to make sure communication was done correctly, we did 8-1. Small group in Maine is done quarterly, so we have third quarter rates. So basically the intention is we could do September up to September, and we're looking at an August 1st change. The rates for this quarter would be lower than the current Harvard plan, with a very similar benefit, with the exception it's actually a $500 lower deductible. The current plan is a $4,000 deductible. We're looking at going to a $3,500. So it would be slightly better. Also, because we're comparing a little bit of the timeline, so rates are adjusted quarterly. So our Harvard rates were for the first of the year, 1st of January, these rates being for summer, August 1st, meaning that the renewal for Harvard in the first quarter of 2026, time flies. So when that happens, that's going to be probably about 9% higher than this. So we're looking at overall about a 10% savings as compared to what the Harvard plan would be, and getting us on to a fiscal year so that the renewal for the employee benefits would come up in conjunction with fiscal planning. So it made a little bit more sense. And again, the pricing's there, but this is just kind of a snapshot. If anybody wants more information on that, certainly let me know. Another reason why the Blue Cross plan made sense and what I've been looking at is the plan doesn't work on its own. We have what's called a health reimbursement arrangement. Not to bore you in the IRS details, but it's Section 105H of the IRS tax code. What it allows a small group or a business to do, you can do a large group as well, is to offset those out-of-pocket costs the employees may incur. So a $4,000 deductible, what we have today, there's money in that fund so that if I go to the hospital and I meet my deductible expenses, I get reimbursed for that. The real advantage with the health reimbursement arrangement is you don't pay it every month unless someone uses it. My insurance premium, I could buy a lower deductible plan with any insurance company, but you're paying that money out prospectively. What the HRA does is it allows you to set the money aside so the employees aren't hurt. If something comes up, they're covered. But if you don't use it, you retain that money. You don't have to spend it out. So it's a way to basically self-insure the deductible, probably for a better term. What I'm looking at doing is basically changing the process a little bit to make it a little bit smoother for the employees. The current administrator that we use right now, you have to go online and submit your claims. What I'd like to do if we move to Blue Cross is then instill an automatic claims feed. So the employee goes in, they go to the doctor, they go to the hospital, any provider of services, they give them their Blue Cross card. Blue Cross is gonna then submit that, the provider's gonna submit that into Blue Cross. They're gonna get the associated discounts because they have a negotiated fee schedule, and it's gonna be applied to that deductible. That claim is then electronically fed to our administrator, our third-party administrator. They're going to adjudicate that and say, oh, Adam's met $500 of his deductible. We owe him that money. It is then sent directly to me as the employee. That's a tax-exempt benefit because it's part of my health plan, so I don't pay, it's not a salary tax. So there's no salary tax to me on that. And it makes it much cleaner, easier to administer, and less work on the employee standpoint. And it's already something that we're doing. I just would like to improve the process if we move over to Blue Cross for August 1st. And that's the basics of the changes we're looking at. Questions?
Reimbursal, deductible reimbursal comes out of the HRA, which the town itself owns.
It does. The town owns that. That's correct. It's a qualified plan under the IRS code. The town doesn't I consider it an unfunded liability. So I say I have 20 employees and we have 10 that are single and 10 that have families. So we set aside that pre-funded, that amount that we've put in our budget already. That's set aside. As claims are incurred, we fund the HRA through the administrator and they pay the employee directly. Typically, they ask for like a 10% of that to have in the account, so they're not waiting on the town to fund that over. But again, the money that's set aside, if it's not used, the town retains that money. They never pay it out. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Similar to what we do today.
Yeah, it's the same process that today. It's not changing the budget at all. I just want to improve the process so it's easier for the staff to use it.
That's my more personal question anyway.
Yeah, that's okay. No, we do a lot of those. It's a way for small businesses to self-fund their, basically, it's like if you have your home insurance and you looked at your annual premium and your home insurance premium for $5,000 deductible versus a $1,000 deductible. If you said, oh, I'm saving $3,000, I'll take the risk on the difference. Kind of what we look at. And we look at national trends of what utilization is. So if the town sets aside, let's say $50,000, I'm just using a round number. Typical trends are about 33% of that be used. So you're not going to use only about a third of it. And that's nationally. And I looked at mid-year numbers and we were at about 17%. So we're pretty close to that national average right now. And if we went out and said, let's get a really good plan, like what we have today with the HRA, but it's a standalone plan, you would raise your premium by probably close to 50 or relative values. And if that, at the end of the year, if nobody uses it, you don't get that money back. So that's the real advantage for us. I've either bored you to death or I've answered your questions. I'm not sure which.
Well, I mean, it absolutely makes sense to me to make a change if it's a benefit to put money in the employee's pocket, right? My question is, why is the Board of Selectmen making this decision and not the town manager? And I understand we have a policy that says that, but when we talk about revising some policies, is that one that we really want to hang on to? Or is that the responsibility of the town manager? For this one, we can vote on that tonight, so we can move forward. That's fine, but going forward, I would think we would shift that responsibility.
Ted, I can tell you that I've been in front of 3 other boards or select boards or town councils in the last 3 or 4 months, just because it's all different, it's all over the place. And then I have some that I couldn't tell you who the town council is, because they don't do it, they go right through the town manager. So it's all over the place as far as what I've seen in some of the small towns.
To me, it's the cost of doing business. It's all in the budget. I don't think the town manager's gonna overexpend a budget because of this, you know what I mean? I question why it's left up to us.
It is a big part of the salary, though, right? I mean, health insurance is probably one of the biggest parts of the salary, the employee salaries for the town, so
Yeah.
I can see how somebody along the way had wanted the select board to see the percentage of that or whatever it is.
My guess is that they did it years ago because the town manager tried opting into the program and didn't want the second line.
It could be, and if you guys are good with leaving it that way, that's fine.
Oh, I don't care, he's got to figure more on the pulse than we do. I have no idea what
You know,
ailments all our staff have and what hospitals they go to and what systems they use. Which actually is a question, Blue Cross Blue Shield had an issue with CMMC back in '23, I think.
Yeah, it was Maine Health and CMMC. They've had contractual issues, and we'll continue to see that. If an insurance company's not having a contractual issue with a hospital, it means they're not doing their job for their members. It's easy to beat up on Blue Cross because nobody likes insurance. I don't like insurance companies. I work for them. But what it is they're trying to negotiate fee schedules. If you looked at when Maine Health was the big one that came out, Maine Health sent letters to their members, to their patients, and said, we're not going to do Blue Cross anymore. Well, Blue Cross is the biggest carrier in the state. Maine Health is the biggest health system. They're going to make it work. But Blue Cross is trying to keep their rates down because any unfunded claims typically fall on the insured population, the people that pay their bills. So that's why it's $110 for a saline bag of IV solution. So we see that. But yeah, every hospital in New England's in network. I don't know of any hospital in the Northeast that's not a preferred provider with Blue Cross. I think it's harder to find somebody that doesn't work with them than it is to.
I have Blue Cross.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good plan, but I mean, that's a good question because providers, we do see some providers now that are going to what's considered a non-network plan where they don't take any insurance and they do basically it's a direct primary care relationship. So it's a whole new strategy.
My primary's doing it, I gotta go find it.
Yeah, because there's a company out there called Terra Health, if that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's a startup, so.
Let's make sure our staff's good, take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why we do the HRA and everything is because Maine Municipal Health Trust plans are very good. They're very rich, but they're very expensive. And that's why you look at a vehicle like an HRA to be competitive for good employees and being cost effective for the town.
When does this take place? 1 January? Is that when the plan ends? Or when is our plan?
Sure, right now the current plan renews for the 1st of January. I would be looking at changing it right now because it would put us in line with the fiscal year. So it's easier for budgets. Deductibles run calendar year, but we would credit. So like if I had met $500 in my deductible year to date for 2025, we get a report and the Blue Cross credits that so no one has to start over for the balance of the year. But a good question.
And no issue bailing out of our current contract, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no. A couple of things that you're not aware of is of January 1, we've already been informed that the current policy is going to go up in cost, as you would expect it to do every year, right? This one would extend, we would get another 6 months on top of that at the same price that we're at now, so that's a benefit. And if you look at it from a win-win standpoint, it's the same benefits at the same cost, right? So it costs the town the same amount of money and the employees get the exact same benefits package, so Pat and I are looking at it like it's a win-win.
Any other questions from the board?
I've been on Blue Cross Blue Shield for probably 45, 50 years, being a retired federal employee.
FEP
And
program.
of course, you have open season as a personal liberty.
Coming right up.
And I've gone away from them several times and looked at different companies, different providers, but always come back to Blue Cross Blue Shield. To me, is the best provider that I could find out there as a personnel issue.
Again, I like Blue Cross. Granted, I worked for Blue Cross for a long time and worked on the FEP program for a while. I used to work, they'd give us in the fall for open enrollment. So, yeah, it's a good, it's not perfect. None of the insurance companies are good. If insurance companies were good, I wouldn't be standing here. I mean, that's my job, is I convert English to insurance and back and forth. That's what I do. So,
Got a question from the public?
Volunteers, any coverage?
under the current plan or the plan, you have to be an active employee to be covered under a group
So
contract.
volunteers, like say a planning board member goes to a site to look at it, breaks his ankle tripping on something, no coverage.
Well, this is group medical. It's
is
not
that
a
a
workers' comp.
liability
That's a
thing?
liability or workers' comp for an active employees only, again, on workers' comp. The liability coverage typically, and I'm not the liability coverage expert by any means, but that would be something, because you're acting on behalf of the town, that liability plan would. This is a 24-hour group medical plan, so if I'm sick, if my kids are, yeah.
I
so it's-
understand,
So
I
it's a little,
volunteer for many years,
gotcha.
but there's a lot of volunteers that do physical work that could get hurt. And just a question,
But that they would be covered under the town's liability policy.
liabilities.
Yep.
Looking for a motion.
And workers' comp. I'm looking for a motion, yes.
Make a motion to change our healthcare plan for the town to Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem from Harvard Pilgrim.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to abstain. 401.
Thanks for moving me up on the agenda. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You
If
too.
anybody has
Thank you.
questions,
Thanks,
Pat has
Adam.
all my contact is Randy. If anybody has questions, thank you.
Number 6.
Make a motion to approve 6A, B, C, and D, entertainment permit application for Songo River Queen, a new business license for Skin by Cara, a new business license for Bellevue Bookkeeping, and a liquor license for Lake Region Caterers.
Second.
I heard Kevin first, Steve, sorry.
that's
Motion by
okay.
Colin, second by Kevin.
I do have a question, though.
Go ahead.
Lake Region Caterers, can we give them a catering license, like, and they just go to the state and get it each time from the state, or we gotta do that, they gotta come see us every time?
Well, the way she explained it was she used to come to the town manager once a year and get it signed.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't know.
I know the
if
state
policy
system
says something
changed, but-
different, is that why?
Policy doesn't really make any exceptions, so
It doesn't?
if you want it to, we can modify it, but it doesn't. Renewals could, I mean, that could be a special category, right?
Because, I mean, she's doing just 50 people at whack. I mean, I got parties at my house with 50 people. If she's gonna do a large gathering, like 150 or 200 packs, then she's gotta get a outdoor entertainment permit, which is a whole nother ball of wax. So she's just doing small stuff.
Small stuff.
Maybe look at the policy and say, you know, under 50 people, you know, your catering license, and have a nice day.
Well, she's done the library, this is at least the second year in a row, right? If not more.
I don't know, future.
So,
Anyways,
no, actually, we can act on that motion, and then you can make another motion to allow the town manager to sign an annual permit for them. So on the first motion is all four of them grouped together. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. You want to make another motion?
so I make a motion that, is it just them or any caterer, you think? Are they the only ones I know of? I don't know of any other
The only
caterers
ones
in
we
town.
have
Yeah.
in Naples, I think.
Well, who was the fellow that applied for something similar to this a couple meetings ago? It seemed like a similar.
Yeah, it was a wedding.
Wedding.
Yeah, who was the caterer that just did the
Oh, the
wedding?
same one. I thought it was still Lake Region. Just wasn't her here? It was just him?
Was it Lake Region?
No, it was a different,
Was there one?
Same idea though, right?
Same idea.
right.
Catering an event, he
just got it one time.
I guess you could make a motion to allow the one-time paper events to be signed by the town manager.
So moved.
Second.
I like that. Makes me easier.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
How does that motion go into effect for, how long does it last? How long?
Just a year.
1 year,
A new calendar.
calendar year, yep. July 1, June 30.
The motion lasts a year, or the license lasts a year?
License.
The one that you sign is good for a year,
Yeah, okay. I'm just making sure I was clear. Is that what
so
you
that they
meant,
don't have to
Kevin?
keep coming to us for every individual one, Randy, that's all.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
The motion, I meant the motion that you can do that.
Yeah.
That motion lasts a year. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right.
So a year from now, I won't have permission to do it unless you vote to give me permission again.
That is not what I heard in the motion.
No, the motion.
There was no date, there was no
date.
there was no deadline or anything.
Correct.
So we were creating a
Okay.
policy or something right there?
And I would like to see us revise the policy, because right now I believe the policy says that each one has to come to us. It just seems kind of crazy. I mean, we could be doing this every meeting for one or two, and it's the same thing, you know?
But it does give the community or the neighbors or the people the opportunity to come and express their concerns about an event too. If the neighbors to the library are concerned on how many people are going to be there and how much drinking is going to be on or whatever, they can come and ask those questions. That's the
They
other,
could, yeah, certainly could bring it to our attention.
that's where, right, they can go out of their way to do it. But when it's on this agenda, it draws it to the community's attention that it's going on, it's happening.
Would you rather us make this an annual motion? So that those people would have a chance to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, that's obviously, I'm playing devil's advocate, that's the other side of the coin of why it's here. It may seem redundant for us to look at it, but it is also the opportunity for people to say,
Sure, I get you.
Are we still in discussion?
We have not voted on
We
it.
haven't voted, still discussion?
It was a motion and a second,
So I'm gonna rescind my motion.
and you're gonna make another
I'm
one.
gonna make a new motion. Then I'm gonna ask Randy to look at the policy, review it, and come up with an idea, and then we'll review it the next meeting. Because I don't have enough information to keep kicking around this table in the
Second.
workshop right now.
but,
Yes. So you rescind your second?
I rescind my second also.
All right. Moving on. Get us some information for the next meeting?
Will do.
Thank you. Under old business is Smoke and Jay's 30-day permit. Any new information on that, Randy?
Yeah, in your packet, there was, you'll see a letter about Gabby's Roadhouse. And that's from the planning board where they rejected outside entertainment.
Saw that in here someplace.
I think it's right in front of the medical.
Dated March 22, March 9.
March 9th, 2022, yep.
That's your answer. So back to the original application. Before we gave a 30-day conditional, it sounds like the application is restricted to inside only.
Right. That was for Gabby's. You wonder if Smoking Jays could go to the planning board and try to do it again, and if they so desired, to go through the motion. And if you got denied by the planning board at that point for what you're proposing, because what you're proposing could be different than what Gabby's proposed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So then you can try to go to the appeals. If they do, you could try to go through something. You could do what they did, it looks like. This doesn't look very reassuring necessarily for having outdoor music. Like Teddy said, it looks like it doesn't work. It doesn't say you can't have any inside, but as far as on the porch, on the patio, you could try to go through the motions.
Okay, so that's another
That's the
board
plan.
meeting, and another planning board, that's a different board and all that.
Right.
Because, I was just gonna say, because we have had outdoor music, and I specifically asked our neighbors if there was any issues, they would let us know, and nobody's had any issue, nobody's come to us or said anything, so, I guess maybe that would work in our favor, going to the front of the board, but, we understand, we really just would like to continue at least having entertainment, even if it's inside, but, like I said, we have had it it's been a little over, thank you for granting that extra weeks till we got here. People have really liked it, and it's done wonders for our business. We had a free comedy show on Friday, and it was standing room only. People loved it. We had a great time, and it was inside, so that wasn't even an outdoor thing. People actually enjoyed having the outdoor and not having to be part of the comedy show if they didn't want to. So I'm certainly willing to go in front of the next board and try to ask that permission as well. We would really just like to be able to continue entertainment, even if it's inside, until we could get that. We'll play by all the rules, so we have no problem.
Well, the original application was for inside and outside, and we did a conditional until we got these answers. And tonight, we can approve their indoor permit. So they can continue doing what they're doing, and going forward, you can come in and meet with the planner, who's behind you, Kathy, and she can guide you onto how to get onto the planning board's agenda
Perfect.
and move forward that way.
Wonderful, yeah, absolutely, thank you. I don't
Colin,
understand,
what do you
so I
got?
appreciate it very much.
So, I'm a little confused. What is the condition of approval that the Gabby's originally tried to rescind? Was that when business licenses were approved to the planning board? Because we made that change, and Martina may have said she seconded the motion, but I don't know what the condition of approval is for. Is that for the site, or is that just for the business? I don't know what the condition of approval is for. She doesn't know, she's not ready to that. It's okay, I got you. But I don't know what that is for. I don't know what the condition of approval of no outdoor music is in regards to. I'm guessing it's not a site plan. I'm guessing it's a business license when the planning board was approving business licenses before it moved to select board.
So again, I will say the same thing that Martina just said is, I'm not prepared to answer this either, but I'll go off of memory. And it's because that business is in the residential district.
Correct.
And that's why they opted not to approve an outdoor permit.
Is that when they were also approving gathering permits, which we now approve?
Actually, we weren't,
I'm sorry,
In 2022, the planning board was not approving entertainment permits. It had something to do with that business and its deed and where it was located. So it was something that was attached to the deed, from what I recall. So it was more concrete like that. And we were being asked, the reason it came to the planning board is because it was deed related, and it was asking us to do something to vacate a previous condition that had been placed on it, as I recall.
The select
That's all I'm
board-
going to say.
It's not quite clear in my head either. I'm like, I can't remember back.
It was a few
where
years
was.
ago.
The select board at the time approved the permit for inside, and they wanted to go outside, so that they went back to the planning board because it's in
It's on the deed.
residential district. It's not in commercial.
and also, there were several residents from that area that got up and spoke. and said they didn't mind about the indoors, but they did not want to have it out on the outside. And I think that may have been some decision there as well.
But it's, the town wants to give you a fight, give that establishment a fighting chance. It's a grandfathered use, and wherever the wording might be for that, and how set in stone it was put there, and whether it was there before zoning, and whether zoning was established after anything went into that, I don't know if it's in the deed or wherever it was put into writing. The town wants to support the business and give it as much of a chance as every other restaurant and bar that has music indoor and outdoor, and within the constraints of the location, and whether the neighbors are on board or not on board, and whether it's annual renewals with issues or whatnot. But I think, like Teddy was saying, we should just go with first with approving the indoor entertainment, and then start going through the process to see if you can work on getting outdoor, even if it was unplugged or something, just to help the business.
So still go back and speak with you and we'll figure
So
something out?
we will approve the indoor permit tonight,
Wonderful.
and
Thank you.
then you can go back to Kathy and she can guide you through the next steps.
I do have just a quick question. When we applied for the permit, I had to put mailers out to every one of the neighbors, and it was supposed to be posted in the paper. If I would think, wouldn't that be their time if they had an issue to come up and say it, no,
Yes.
and follow this process? But
Yes.
the only person we've had who said anything was actually very positive, which was Kathy, who's not here. But, so I don't,
I think it goes back to that, it's not commercial.
Correct.
And that was the whole argument that got board last time, was that they tried to go commercial, but the plot is big, it's got a house in the back and stuff, it's not just a business. So they couldn't have music because it could be commercial.
Well, and the other piece, again, going off of memory back then, the other business was talking about putting a band out on the deck.
no.
And you're talking about a speaker.
Yeah.
So when you go to planning board, talk to Kathy again, explain the difference.
Yeah, well, we did have, I will say, we did have a couple of solo musicians with their speaker and their guitar, and that's what we had, and there wasn't an issue, so we're looking for something like, not a whole band, but possibly a guy with his guitar and whatnot, so. Awesome, thank you very much, guys, we appreciate it.
Need a motion for that?
We do need a motion to approve the indoor entertainment permit.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you so much.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I lost my paper. Page 2, went someplace. Up next is, under new business, George Flauber to update us on the comprehensive plan vision statement.
Thank you, good evening. I know you had a report about one meeting ago from Barry Dunn, where you have since that time drafted together our initial vision statement, which I'm going to read tonight because I want to get it on record. It is a draft. We're still looking for additional input. This is kind of a big milestone for the committee as we move forward. Just a little bit of background, and you've probably heard from when Barry Dunn was here. This vision statement and all we've put together has come from the surveys, the input we've got from throughout town. We've had a number of forums here in the building, and at the last Father Fest, we actually had a table set up for the day and gathered information that day. So based on the information that we've gathered, I'm going to, if I may, just read to you the vision statement and then talk about some of our focus areas. Vision statement reads as such: nestled in the heart of Maine's Lakes region, our town shares its small town spirit, village charm, abundant recreation opportunities, and peacefulness of our rural neighborhoods. We are a community deeply rooted in the natural beauty of our lakes and open spaces, committed to preserving a healthy environment for future generations. We envision a future where our diverse local economy supports both year-round residents and seasonal visitors, offering opportunities for entrepreneurship and innovation, while continuing to honor and preserve the historic character of our town. Above all, we are united in a strong sense of community where our shared traditions, civic engagement, and mutual support create a safe place where everyone feels at home, valued, and inspired to contribute. I will briefly, I don't think I'll read each of them. Have you received a copy of this? But I do want to just mention that we have 5 focus areas, and they are on the town website if we go, for any members of the community that are looking tonight, and we'll try to make sure to drive them there. Again, these are drafts. They can certainly be modified. Our committee will be meeting regularly. We are meeting at least once a month, but we've added 2 additional meetings just to try to make sure that we keep ahead of the schedule that the board has set for us. So I will mention that the 5 focus areas that to support the town's vision. First is a vibrant and resilient year-round economy. Second is environmental stewardship. Third is community connectedness. Fourth is being responsible growth. And the fifth being fiscal responsibility and good governance. And we will be working off of these with additional input from members of the community. We have 2 members of the board of selectmen that sit there. So please, any feedback you have, give to Kevin or Colin. They're active in all of our meetings. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I appreciate the time. Good. Thank you.
I just want to say I think you nailed it.
Yep.
In this vision statement. Outstanding.
As a committee, the committee did a lot of work. We appreciate the work doing with Barry Dunn, with Kathy, who is coordinated through her. But the committee, every member of the committee has had input into putting this together. So, great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anything else for George? Thank you. Thank you.
I'm happy. I should say, I'm happy to come back anytime if there are questions to the board as you may need.
It's great to have you come, George. That was a great idea for you to be here, just to keep everybody abreast of what's going on.
Thank you. I'll continue to try and do that every couple of months.
All right. Thank you.
A side note, do we think this is Lake Region or Lakes Region? Are we in the region?
Yeah.
Lakes. What's that?
Did you say lakes?
I did.
I would say, yeah, lakes.
If we can change it, we had a large debate about that, but all of your letterheads are going to have to change for the town. That's what it says.
No, we were the Lake Region High School.
You are the Lake Region High School, but that doesn't mean that it's the Lakes Region community. More than one.
I've heard it, the debate go around. I brought it up.
It says it on all of our vehicles too, out of the Lakes Region again.
That was the real point that we brought up. Was the media is already going, the marketing has already gone in that direction.
Under other business, we have Kathy here looking for guidance on the ORC.
If you don't mind, I'm going to let Martina, the chair, kind of talk about what we've been working on, and if you have any specific questions for each one of these ordinances that we're looking at, I can do that.
Okay, sure.
Hello. So I think you have the memo that Kathy prepared regarding the ordinances that we'd like to be working on, that we kind of discussed. Do you have a chance to look at that? I don't know how much detail you want me to read through it, or...
We don't have it with us.
Oh, you don't, okay. Okay, so what we're asking is some guidance on 7 specific ordinances, and then an 8th one that I'm going to discuss as well. The first one is to make some changes to amend and clarify items in the subdivision ordinance that we currently have, so that this is not a new ordinance. This is to make some amendments and clarifications. Things that include updating the performance guarantees to ensure that the town's not responsible for any unfinished developments, to remove some dated diagrams that are in the subdivision ordinance, By dated, I mean like old, they look old and they're not very clear. We want some, we'd like to get some input from the fire chief to clarify fire suppression requirements, review private road standards, and consider amendments to previously approved subdivisions that don't have fire suppression or substandard roads. You know, what happens with that? So, because that's been happening a lot, amending subdivisions. So that's the work we'd like to do on the subdivision ordinance. We'd also like to talk about and address potentially changing the height dimension standards. Currently in Naples, you can build a 55-foot building anywhere with the exception of the shoreland zone. And we've had some discussion that we thought that that was potentially a little high. I mean, that's almost 4 stories depending on roof pitch. And other communities adjacent to us and in the area have varying height, you know, depending on the area of town. So there was some discussion about potentially changing that. Also working on cell phone towers. This discussion came out of a recent application that the planning board had for a cell phone tower, and we realized that we didn't have, we felt like even our definition for cell phone tower was a little old. Might want to change that and develop some standards around it, similar to something like what we have with solar arrays, maybe about buffering, even about standards of like breaking it when they break it down when it goes away. I recall as a planning board member, we actually took some cues from the solar ordinance and used that in language as we were writing our conditions of approval for the cell phone tower. So we'd like to look at that and make those changes. Something that would be new would be the no permits on parcels with existing NOVs or notice of violation. This would be new to our ordinance in that but this law already exists at the state level. We'd like to incorporate it into our town ordinance and use that language. So basically that if a property has a notice of violation, that it may be denied a building permit until they rectify or address those violations. Another one that came up was street and mobile vendor ordinance. We have a very comprehensive ordinance on this, but some things that might be missing that we want to address are where it might be appropriate to actually have the mobile vendors, maybe even go so far as identifying it, maybe mapping it, how many, you know, at any one time, how many licenses would we give, all these kind of things. I mean, even though our ordinance is pretty specific, it seems to miss a few of these very important things. And then the part about fees, which I think a lot of the discussion around mobile vendors began with the fees, but that's actually something that the select board would determine. But so we'd be looking for you to perhaps update the fee schedule on that. And then we'd also like to work on the food sovereignty, there's that word again that I just can't say, sovereignty ordinance. We would like to repeal and replace it with a simple farm stand ordinance. And why we want to repeal it is that it had some unintended consequences where there's a potential for some food to become available to the public that maybe wasn't produced in a sanitary environment. But at the same time, we don't want to discourage people from selling produce or anything like that they have. So we'd like to take out the wording of the food sovereignty, and we would replace it with a very clear farm stand ordinance. And so that ordinance would probably address things more like ensuring that your farm stand's not in the right of way, and that there might be at least some place for somebody to pull off the side of the road to go to your farm stand, that they wouldn't have their car in the, just safety issues. And then we would also be looking for some verbiage, probably in direction for sure from you folks or the town manager, on what changes might need to be made to the marine safety ordinance. If you were to read it now based on the organizational restructuring of marine safety, the ordinance doesn't reflect what's happening right now, so we probably need to make some changes to that. So, and then I'd also like to talk about the short-term rental ordinance. basically, we had started working on that because we had been given the go-ahead to work on that, and then suddenly, I guess something happened, and we, meaning the Ordinance Review Committee, was kind of blindsided. We found out that we were told not to be working on it anymore, and I would have to say that that all, or the vast majority of the Ordinance Review Committee, I would say almost all, Kathy, right, wanted to continue to work on it. And what this ordinance, the thing that we were hoping to achieve with the short-term rental ordinance is basically just a registration of short-term rentals. It was not a limitation in the sense where some communities actually limit them as to percentage of the dwellings in the community or something like that. It was nothing like that. We wanted to address primarily safety, health and safety concerns / environmental concerns, focusing mostly on ensuring that the dwellings aren't rented to more people than the septic system was designed for. I think that's particularly concerning since most of the short-term rentals are older dwellings in the shoreland zone with older septic systems potentially. And the other thing that we wanted to focus on was to ensure that there would be off-street parking. Again, a lot of these short-term rentals are on old camp roads, narrow, and just ensuring that there aren't suddenly 10 cars showing up at a house and, 7 of them are parked on a narrow camp road. So we were working towards something. We actually spent 2 meetings working on this, and we were using the ordinance that Casco passed in 2022 for their short-term rental. We were looking primarily at that and using that as a base. And again, it's basically a registration ordinance. And then the other part of that, and it would be kind of, in the beginning we were talking about it being a voluntary thing and hopefully educating the people and knowing that they would have to do this. In the same way, I would say that this board requires people to come in and register their businesses. And in the same way, when you look at it, Naples has a business ordinance, it has a home occupation ordinance. So you are requiring people that are running businesses in various places and in various degrees to come in and show some evidence that they're being good citizens and doing the right thing. And yet we have hundreds of homes that are bringing thousands of people into our neighborhoods, and there is absolutely nothing that kind of regulates that in any kind of way or registers it or ensures that there's safety. So again, we're just kind of trying to do what our neighbors are doing. I speak frequently with the chair of the Bridgeton Planning Board, and they're currently going through the same thing and plan on bringing something to their citizens on a short-term rental ordinance. So that is my pitch for that. And I would so we're having a meeting on Wednesday, and we haven't had a meeting in a couple of months because I guess we've got bumped from this schedule a few times. So we would like to know that we have the go-ahead to work on these items that I just listed. All the ones with the exception of the short-term rental, we would like to get for the November ballot. We understand that the short-term rental might take a little bit more work, so, we're not pushing that for November necessarily, but we'd certainly like to know that we have your support on all of these. Questions?
I have a lot of questions.
I might be the one
As
to
you
ask some of them.
as you knew I would.
So, yes.
And my
Do you want us to start?
questions are about the short-term rental ordinance. So who's going to police the ordinance? So in other words, if you have a home has a septic system for 5 bedrooms, that's 10 people. And then 12 people show up.
Well, the way, actually, the subsurface wastewater treatment says if you have a 5-bedroom septic, it's usually 2 people per bedroom plus 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, something
Something
like
like
that.
that. So our thought
State
was,
plumbing code.
yeah, so,
This ordinance in particular, I feel like you're getting into somebody's personal property. You get into their personal space. And I was one that spoke up about it a few months ago, and I don't know how else to say this, but what if the septic fails? Town's not on the hook for it.
No.
So why do we need an ordinance to regulate it?
Well, you don't want to contribute to that, do you? Do you want to?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I mean,
Absolutely
why
not.
do we have, I guess I would say, why do we even bother with subsurface wastewater laws if we don't think that they have any teeth? Why do we do that? Why does somebody need to do a test pit to see? I mean, why do we do any of it, Ted? I don't know if Kathy is, I mean, so in the way that we were talking about.
Don't we already have an off-street parking ordinance?
Not, no, and not in private, and that's the thing, a lot of this happens on private roads where that doesn't really come into play.
But that's not a short-term rental thing, I mean, because I don't have a rental, I could have 10 people in my house every other day. Are you gonna start policing that as well, or try to control that?
Well, so maybe we should just reset and think about, I mean, clearly we're talking about something that is different now than it was even 20 years ago, and certainly different than it was 40 years or 50 years ago, when every Maine family that had a camp would probably rent it to their second cousin on their mother's side for a week or two to help pay for it, right? So can we at least all agree that that's not the situation we are in anymore? We are in a situation where people are coming and buying property simply to run a business. One, we know that happens. We are also in a situation where we know people are inheriting property and they don't maybe even have the same feeling about the place, and they never even go there. They're just constantly renting it because they see it as a cash cow. But at the end of the day, I mean, we just read this lovely vision statement that talks about how we respect our rural community and our rural neighborhoods. I mean, at the end of the day, the reality is there are hundreds of dwellings in this town that bring in thousands of people into our neighborhoods, and nobody's paying attention.
I'm not against the conversation. I think it's definitely a worthwhile conversation that needs to be figured out. I mean, you know, the ones that are coming in and running them as a business, do we go for a business license and that's how we capture that? But I mean, you're only going to capture the ones in Airbnb, people that are out there renting to friends or whatever. You're not going to be able to capture that unless the neighbors are ratting on them or something like that. But you're not going to be able to define every single short-term rental in this town. You can use GB card system that I think is identified, I think it's 411 in Naples or something, or just shy of that. They've got a software that goes through VRBO and Airbnb, and you can find those ones, but you're not gonna get them all, so I don't think.
I think that would be a good start. I mean, don't you think there are probably some home businesses that are going on that nobody has a business license for? Okay, so, I mean,
But I just don't know how you get after that, like, off-street parking, septic, I don't know how you're gonna articulate that just to Airbnb people or just to short-term rental people, because if I rent my house to my neighbor for 2 months, I'm not gonna tell the town that. What he does with that in 2 months, I have no idea. I'm not gonna sit there every day and see what he does.
Yeah, there's definitely gonna be some that slip through the cracks. But
Yeah.
this is more of a big picture thing. I think the best example you used was home occupations. And the reason for a home occupation, or even a business license, is to give, if my neighbor says they're going to be an automotive place, but they're only gonna do one car at a time, and there's nobody's gonna be coming and going, we're not gonna know it. The next thing you know, there's a bunch of cars in there. That gives me as a neighbor the opportunity to say to the town, it's not going the way they said. And it's now disrupting my life. It gives the community the opportunity to call out. It definitely seems to me as more of a reactionary policy than knocking on the door because there's a bus out front. You know, to me, it certainly seems like that it helps protect, okay, the neighbor. The neighbors do become the watchdogs, you know, at that point. It gives the neighbors the opportunity to do something about the septic tank bubbling up next to their entranceway because they're on non-conforming lots that are all, you know, a quarter acre instead of 60,000 square feet. So it's and you call it a registration instead of you know, it's not like initially as a lot of people would jump on it as it's a tax that would be. It's another tax that townspeople are gonna have to pay. And really, to me, it's just like the business license or the home occupation. It's an opportunity for everybody to just kind of work together and make sure we all stay within the guidelines of what we all want. And, you know, we don't, I mean, I'm with you, Teddy, I agree, like, max the house up. I don't even care. weekends before where there's twice as many people that should be in the house, and they stayed longer than a weekend or whatever, but the neighbors, if that happens all summer, then the neighbors have the opportunity to say, it happened all summer, is there anything we can do about it, you know, then when the review comes up, when their application comes up again, the annual registration, the neighbors can be like, but this was just not the way they signed up for it. And it's just, that's the way I see this registration, it's not.
But you're talking about easy fix, Kevin. I mean, you just add Airbnbs and VRBOs to the business license policy, and that captures that avenue.
But yeah, it could.
That's $10 a bit, $10 an Airbnb a year, and then they're registered, and then if they've got those issues, you can do that. I think that's why the business license was initially enacted from the select board. They wanted to go with the personal property tax, and they couldn't do it. They were holding businesses accountable, give them a business license. If they didn't pay the personal property tax, they'd keep the business license, and they couldn't operate, which goes down a whole other rabbit hole.
I don't know,
Where we're at now.
I see what you're saying, but I don't know if the state of Maine would allow you to call that a business. I don't think you can.
Currently, they're not considering them businesses, although they're collecting the room tax, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, so the state gets their cut, we get nothing.
yeah, so, I think doing it as a business license wouldn't work, because then you'd be requiring them to do the notifications every year and come here, which I think is a little bit more than what you're looking for. I think you're really just looking for maybe a registration where, when they first start doing an Airbnb, the code officer gets one stab at it to look at the septic to make sure it's adequate for what they're going to advertise for rent, and that there's off-street parking. The difference between you having a party at your house and having 12 people when you really only have 2 bedrooms, you're not charging, first of all, and second of all, it's a one-off. It's not an every weekend or every week. So I think we're just looking for a really low bar right now, just to have a registration where every year they come in and register their, renew it every year, and then the code officer's not gonna go every year. It's a continuing as it was last year. We've had no complaints. The code officer would be the one to be able to do it, not have to come here and notify every year again.
So do we really do anything if we've got the software from GP Cog that identifies all the Airbnbs and
We
VRBOs?
have software that identifies VRBOs and Airbnb, not any of the other smaller ones. And there's 211 that we know of right now.
But how do you know those? Just on that software?
Yeah.
So the other ones that you're trying to capture, you don't know about?
Well,
You probably never know
and
about.
really, basically, a registration is voluntary,
Right.
right? I mean, it really is voluntary. So I think what we're just asking is, can you let us explore it and see if we can come up with an idea? And then, I mean, if we can recommend it, something, and you guys don't like it, you can say no, right? Just to kind of continue to look at it, not spend a lot of time, because we pretty much have done the work, and come up with a recommendation. And I'd love to answer any questions you have about any of the other ones too.
So back to my original question. If someone registers
Yeah.
a VRBO
Yeah,
and it's a 5-bedroom septic design, which you're saying allows for 12 people.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do when they have 15?
well, we're not gonna be the police officer, but what
Correct.
it does do is it gives us a phone number if someone has a complaint, first of all. I mean, right now, we don't know how to get a hold of anybody. So if someone calls us and says XYZ is happening at this property, we don't know who the owner is, because a lot of them are out-of-state owners. We don't know how to get a hold of them necessarily. We might have their phone number on record, but maybe we don't. So a lot of the towns are requiring this so they can have who do we contact if there's a problem? Maybe it's a property manager, maybe it's not the person that owns it, I don't know. So just basic information, how many people you're having there. Let's just get in there and make sure that basic plumbing code is being met, and that there's some place to park so you're not being a big nuisance to your neighbors. That's really all we're looking at. We're not gonna be the police officer, we can't. We have one code officer currently right now. But it does give us just a way to track what's going on in our town. And the other thing is, I mean, this is the argument, the equity argument, when you have anybody who is renting out a motel or a hotel or bed and breakfast or any of those other types of things, they're paying additional property tax for it because it's classified different, it's classified as a business. These folks are, if you live in property A and you're paying $5,000 in taxes, and now you have property B and this person's generating revenue, you're probably still paying the same $5,000. So it does feel like a little bit of an equity issue as well. We're not talking about raising people's taxes, we're not treating it as a business, the state doesn't treat it as a business, but what we're talking about is just a registration. Voluntary registration, let's get the names and the numbers, and that way if we do get a complaint, we know who to call and who to ask the questions. And obviously we can look it up on Airbnb and see what it's being advertised as. And we know, if we know there's a 3-bedroom septic system and they're having more than they should be, then we could potentially not renew their annual registration, right?
How do you do that now with a regular homeowner?
Right.
Say I have that problem,
Right.
say I have 20 people in my house, I only have 2 bedrooms,
Right.
every single day I got 20 people in my house.
Right.
How do you address that now?
We don't.
So we're only gonna do that with Airbnbs or short-term rentals, we're not gonna do that
Yeah,
across the board for
I
everybody?
hear what you're saying, and I have no skin in this game, you know.
No, I'm not
I-
trying to you,
yeah.
if our-
Yeah, I have no skin in this
No,
game,
no.
we're just kind of looking at what other towns are doing, and how they're treating Airbnbs.
I personally
Yeah.
really would be concerned about shoreline zone and septic systems and the lakes that we swim in, and for them to fail, and over time, the state forced this town to put a septic system in because the pH in the lakes had gone way out of whack.
Yeah, sewer.
They should be controlled. If nothing more, we have a workshop and talk about it and discuss this issue.
So do you want to inspect every septic system on the lake, not just short-term rentals?
I hear what you're saying, but some type of control is better than
Some
none.
towns are having to do that, they trigger what's called MS4, Wyndham had to do that and hire a consultant to do every septic system. We're not there, we're not near to being there. Towns like Gray are getting close.
And that's off topic.
Yeah, it's off topic, but we would know, we would not be looking for every septic system.
I support looking into this, but you brought up the point that we have no way to reach people in this town. We don't collect emails, we don't collect names and phone numbers, and I feel like in terms of unrelated to this, in the bigger picture, we need ways to reach people. So just something to consider, not just for this. I struggle with having rules that you can't enforce. And I, as one who, one of the things that has changed is there's less hotels and places for people to stay here. So my concern is that I would be recommending people to go to Airbnbs in Casco or wherever else. And, or if I didn't, actually, I'd have, if there was, if I didn't have the access of Airbnbs making it easy for people, I would be sending them to Portland. And then they aren't gonna come back to Naples and spend money. So I hear the point about the percentage that it doesn't turn out so well, but I think there's a larger percentage that it is a good thing for the town to make it easy.
I hear you.
Well, and then they're also talking about these thousands of people that come here for the summer to rent these places. So what? They're spending money.
Yeah,
That's the bonus, that's the upside, that's the upside to it.
Ted, I didn't mean to say that thousands of people are coming. I meant that thousands of strangers are coming into our neighborhoods, and we don't have any way to even know who to call if there's a problem, potentially, or to, there's just, it's as though we gave it all away or something.
I find it hard to believe that we can't look at a property, a tax map of a property, and figure out who owns it, and we don't have a way to contact that person. I don't believe that.
Mostly by mail,
Does it say certified mail?
mostly mail,
But they've got our telephone numbers too.
I
not
just don't want,
necessarily.
I just don't want to see, the only thing that I'm going to keep saying is that at the end of the year, when it's the beginning of the year and it's time for them to register again, if my neighbor had the police at their place 3 times or whatever,
Yeah.
and there was a number of things that went wrong throughout the year, I want to be able to go somewhere and say, can we address this? Right now, it can just keep happening and have everything, the septic can be bubbling up, the police could be there every weekend, and then whatever, there's no way for the town to say anything. I mean, I'm pro cabin rentals, I'm all for it. My family's been doing it for generations, before I was even a thought that my family has stayed in this town renting properties out, and I'm all for it, but I still see that it would be beneficial to the community to be able to have something at the end, at the beginning of the season, to say, Well, yours was a little out of control last year.
You know, it doesn't have to be annual either. It could be once, and then you don't have to do it again unless there's a change of ownership. And then when it changes hands, then you advise them, remember, you can only have X amount of guests, and you need to make sure it's off-street parking.
I think
So
it
you
should be
can make-
every year, because
Yeah.
what if you want to hold them over the barrel
Yeah.
because they are just running a circus,
Yeah.
then we're gonna say, we can't give it to you. You've had three, what are you gonna do about it?
But
You know,
what-
they gotta come and, I mean, it's the worst case scenario is what
Yeah.
I'm conveying right now.
So first of all, it could just be a lousy neighbor, right, that does those same things that you're stuck with. What do you do with the lousy neighbor? And then it's back to what happens if they register and then we're gonna fine them? You know, what,
A lousy
What's-
neighbor is an opinion. I need to know what problems are you coming up with?
I guess you don't live on a lake. Next to it.
But no, Arlene, I get what you're saying too, but this is an opportunity not to give up, to put up with the neighbor. And it's not even the neighbor. It's some guy from somewhereville that isn't actually the property owner. So creates an opportunity not to put up with the neighbor, you know? But again,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
we should get back to the fact that,
Sure.
yes, subdivision, absolutely, most of this stuff, I support the direction all this stuff is going, especially in the subdivision, you know, having the escrow or the guarantee.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem.
Performance guarantee, we've been faced with that so many times, the fire retention
Yeah.
ponds, the phased development,
Yeah.
all the things, the subdivision definitely should, you know, the height one is, cell phones towers shouldn't be allowed at all, as far as I'm concerned.
But we have to allow
all
it
this stuff.
somewhere.
You know, the short-term rental one, we can keep beating around,
Yeah.
but there's some we do
Yeah.
want on the November
Yeah.
ballot. The short-term rental doesn't have to be one.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't have to be one of them, but let me just throw something out here. We have the property maintenance ordinance now, which has generated a lot of business for our department, to be honest with you already. But that's just an ordinance. Maybe it's a short-term rental ordinance, and they don't do a registration at all. I'm just throwing these things out here, and then if we get a complaint, just like we get a complaint on the property management, it would be complaint-driven, like anything else. That's another option to start with. It's just a one-pager. If you're running a short-term rental, here's what you need to do. It's just a standalone ordinance, that's the thought. So maybe we'll just poke around the edges.
Without a fee attached to it.
Without a fee attached to it, just an ordinance, just like property maintenance ordinance, and then that way, if someone has an issue, they can either be anonymous or in writing, give us a heads up, and we can deal with it that way. Just a thought. That's a lower bar. So the subdivision is a really high priority, especially for amendments to subdivision. It's a problem. You got a major subdivision, they want another lot, there's no fire protection, we gotta deal with that. The height standard, here's another one on the height standard, 55 feet. Not only is that pretty high everywhere in town, it's in every district in this town. The state has passed another law that's going through rulemaking that if it's affordable housing, we have to allow it to be 15 feet taller than whatever the ordinance allows. So that'd be a 70-foot building somewhere down in the
What is
village.
the ordinance review committee thinking of changing that to?
I don't know, it came up when we were doing the cell phone tower, and we realized, holy cow, that's pretty tall in all zoning standards. So we'll take a look at what other towns are doing in rural and in more dense development. And, I mean, obviously you have a church steeple here, and you've got some buildings that are taller, so a lot of this is probably guided by that. So we just want to take a look at it and see what would be appropriate.
I'm curious of when that changed, because it used to be 35 feet.
Yeah, 55 is pretty high.
Hey, Kathy?
Yeah.
For these 7, is it anticipated that we get these 7 on the November ballot with the public meetings and workshops?
We're going to get, that's what we're kind of looking at, is what's the high-hanging fruit, what's the most important? Because we can split it into 2.
Can we get all 7? Are you guys close to that? Or not? You guys are
We can
close?
certainly give it a try. The 2 that I have the least confidence in, really honestly, is the marine safety, because I really don't know what you guys want, and the mobile vendor ordinance. I know there's some fee schedule stuff that you guys can deal with, but I don't know what you want, where, and how many, and what, are we looking at a map with, thou shalt have 3 food trucks at Kent's Landing and 2 over here, or, I have no idea, so I need guidance on those 2. The other ones are easy, the no permits with parcels with existing NOVs, that really is a lot of that shoreland zone. When someone's got a tree violation, we don't want to be issuing them a house permit. We want to take care of the tree violation first. So those are pretty easy, but those two are harder. Subdivision, we're not gonna get it all in one stab. We wanna deal with the performance guarantees and perhaps the fire suppression first, and then there might be some other things. You have no private road standards. That's hunky-dory until someone creates a 3-lot subdivision over time, or a 5-lot subdivision over time, and now you've got a dead-end road with a cow trail to it. So, but those are all gonna take a little bit of time. But we can certainly have some subdivision stuff ready. The height standard, the cell phone tower, is just a definition. I don't think we're gonna be doing an overlay at this point. We're not ready for that yet. Your tower, cell phone tower definition is really talking about people's private arrays on their houses. It doesn't really match the cell phone tower. So we're gonna look at different towns. So most of these are easy, a couple of them are harder. The food sovereignty, I'm not sure what we're gonna do with that, to be honest with you. The state is taking a survey and they're calling all the towns to see what they're doing. The biggest issue is people are selling perhaps baked goods and other items. And right now, if you have a food sovereignty ordinance, no one's looking at the kitchen. So we want to just match what the state says for food, what items are allowed at a food sovereignty for a farmer to sell. The other stuff has to go through DHHS, if it's something that HHS usually has to look at. We want to keep it simple. And we are in a very anti-regulatory mood today, right now. We don't want to add a bunch of regulation. We don't want to do regulations that we don't have the capacity to deal with. We're just looking at the higher stuff. The biggest one is I don't want the town on the hook for cisterns and roads in subdivisions. That's a big one. So I think that one's, in my opinion, the most important one.
I'll make a motion.
So in reality,
Yeah.
which ones of these you guys would have no issue with getting them ready for the November ballot?
Subdivision, height dimensional standard, maybe. Cell phone tower definition, yes. No permits on, with existing NOVs, yes, that's just state language. And perhaps the food sovereignty, what to do with that, and farm stands. The mobile street vendor, we're gonna be out of season by anyway, you know what I mean? We're past the summer peak season, so I think that could probably wait till the next one. And then I'll have more direction from you, and we can have some back and forth on what you guys want and you're looking for. We got competing interests here. We got bricks and mortar restaurants and food trucks, so I think it's gonna take a little bit of time to hammer that one down. And then the short-term rental, it sounds like we maybe wait on that till the next round if we do anything at all, but we will still talk about it, but we'll put that on after the next town meeting list, or not referendum.
What about this marine safety?
I don't know Jason came to us and said we wanted to do marine safety and street mobile vendor ordinance when Jason was here, but I didn't get any direction on what exactly was wanted.
Yeah,
So,
marine safety, the way it's set up right now, it's not in alignment with the ordinance because of the structural changes that were made. So I think it's mostly, it can be straightened up so that they align fairly easily.
but it's not necessarily essential that it goes on for November, because once
Right,
again, we're at the
that
end of
could
the
wait.
season again.
That could wait
Yeah.
until next May.
Yeah, okay. So I'm hearing subdivision, yes, height standard, yes, cell phone tower, yes, no permits, yes. The mobile vendor can wait till the next one, food sovereignty, maybe, depending on what we come up with. And then wait on marine safety and short-term rentals, but continue to kind of poke around the edges. Is that what I'm hearing?
Colin's ready to make a motion.
I don't even know if we need a motion, it's just guidance.
Yeah, it's just guidance. I don't think we need
Or
to.
seasons committee works for us.
So you've got A, B, C, D, and F. That's for now.
Me too.
We're good with that?
And I like the visits from the chair would be nice at the next meeting, would be good for progress report and discussions. And like that whole, this comment about the food trucks, when it gets to that point, it may need to be a workshop or something, because I know when that was written, there was restaurant owners on it, they're like, no, why would we even possibly support? And that's why everybody poo-poos the price of a food truck in, vendors, mobile vendors, and they don't think of the fact that, you got these people paying property tax on these restaurants in town, that it's exorbitant amounts of money, expenses to run these places. And then if somebody comes with a food truck and steals, or not steals, but redirects the customers to them opposed to the people that have been here and around. I don't know whether that should be more of an open discussion in a workshop venue or not, but either way, I think it'd be good for the chair of the ordinance, or, Kathy's around, you're here a lot too, but just an update for the next meeting of how Wednesday went and whatever, just to.
Okay. Letter B is discussion on fee schedule. We have a new one in front of us with a few changes. You want to go over this, Kathy?
Some of it is Michelle's, I think, but I can go over what's here. It's
Okay.
mine.
What's yours, yeah?
Okay, under administration on page 1, we added a fee for $15 just for comprehensive plan because a lot of people don't want to just look at it online, they want it printed. So we're just putting a flat fee for that. Public notice, we added per advertisement because for most of planning board's review, we have to advertise twice. So the $50 doesn't cover the cost. We want to cover at least the cost. If we have to or advertise in the Portland Press Herald for any reason, it doesn't even come close to covering the cost. So we just want to make sure they're paying $50 for each ad. Recording fees, all of our variances have to be recorded, and right now we're eating that cost because they're coming in, they're paying the zoning board of appeal, or the Board of Appeals fee, but they're not paying for the recording fee up front. So we don't want to eat that cost. Certified notices, they cost us $9.60 to mail, but that doesn't cover the envelope, the postage, and the gathering of the data and putting it together, so we want to move that up to 12. Annual business permit, this is on Michelle's list, but or actually Katrina's, but the cost of the notices are being charged right now. We're just charging $10, and we wanted to know if you wanted us to charge for the cost of sending the notices out. Appeals board, the appeals board is a lot of work, and we've had a lot of them lately, and so we broke it down into residential $100 and commercial for $200, plus the cost of notices and recording fees. Before it was $50, and we still have to put together packets. We have to get the group together. We have to have it recorded, and it's just not covering the costs for appeals.
Kathy, is that per meeting, or is that per?
No, it's just a one flat fee. So if it takes 2 meetings for whatever reason, they're not paying it again. But it usually is a 1 meeting thing. They either get yes or nay or nay.
I think I've seen them once more deals. They broke, did a site visit or something, came back.
And came back. No, it'd just be for the whole appeal. Site plan review, the only thing that we change is the modification amendment. Those take just as long as if it were a new one, because we still have to go through the standards. So we looked at other towns, by the way. I mean, we're not just pulling these numbers out of the air. We're looking to see what other towns are charging. There was no fee for pre-application conference with site plan review. They need to pay to just to get in, because a lot of times they come in and then they don't come back, and so we've held this meeting and spent all the time, and we do notices for pre-application, so it's still a meeting, it takes time, it costs money.
Do you want to add that in there?
It is, it's on there, on page, I don't know, there's no page numbers on this, it's under board fees.
No, I'm saying the notices, plus notices, I noticed that.
Yeah.
Michelle did annual
We should
business permit
probably
plus cost
add,
of notices.
we should
Do you wanna
probably
add
add
cost
an
of notices to
asterisk,
it again?
plus notices, you're correct. Subdivision review, sketch plan review, I'm matching the pre-application conference, it's the same thing, it's just a subdivision for $100. And we're changing what was called the planner fee before, which is when you had a contracted planner. We're changing that to planning board and engineering and legal peer review escrow. If they get that money back if we don't use it. But we want to make sure we have enough that when we call Amy at our law firm and have to ask her a question, that the applicant's covering that cost, not the town. Driveway entrance fee, we increased that to $75 because that takes a site visit. They usually drive out there and look and see where it's at, and then they have to come up with, it takes time, culvert sizing and all of that. Tree permit and shoreline zoning, those take time. You're doing 1 or 2 site visits. Flood hazard development, those would take a lot of time. 100's actually a deal, but We don't wanna, like I said, we don't wanna overcharge, or we're trying to cover costs here and not be crazy. Building permit, question came up on unfinished and finished space. We were charging 30 cents for everything, finished and unfinished. We looked at towns around us, they distinguish between the two. They charge less for unfinished and more for finished space. We thought about just raising it to 40 for everything, but we tried to copy what other towns were doing, and they divided into two. Commercial towers, we didn't have any fees for like a cell phone tower, so we added 500. Some towns are doing a lot more, some towns are doing a lot less. We kind of split the difference. It's a commercial enterprise.
Kevin wants it a lot more.
What's that?
Right.
Kevin wants it a lot more.
Yeah.
100,000.
I'm open to suggestions. The mooring is just, it is fact, it's 65 now, that's what it is, what it is. And that's all I have. So I heard adding cost of notices to the pre-application conference, and that would be the same thing for sketch plan review too. Add it to both of those. On some things, we're very much in line with other towns. Site plan and subdivision, we're very close, but it's just some of the other little things that were a lot lower, and some of those little things take a lot of time.
How does it work if somebody goes to the planning board and they don't get approved for a part, and they go ahead and say they cut down the trees, or they put the wrong kind of fence up, or the wrong kind of sign, so, and somebody complains about it, and are there fees attached that they get fined when something like that happens?
So in a perfect world, how it should happen is, and we're working towards getting towards this, but is that when they're ready to open, there should be a final site visit, and it should be the planner, the code officer. And in a perfect world, we contract with an assessor, so we don't have an assessor here all the time, but if the assessor was available, you do it all at once. They go look at it, that way you're not bothering the person to death, first of all. We all show up at the same time, but the code officer can sign off on the fact that everything is done to code, and the planner can say, yeah, all the elements that they agreed to do in site plan is ready before they get a certificate of occupancy. That's a perfect world. There's only 3 of us, so it doesn't always happen that way. But, I mean, really, you shouldn't get a CO if you've installed a sign that doesn't meet what you agreed to do. And the sign permit is separate from, the planning board here doesn't necessarily approve the sign. They may approve the sign location, but they still pull a sign permit. So a sign permit's a little bit different. But they should have the fence that they said that they were gonna put up, they should have the trees that they said that they were gonna leave there or plant, and all that should happen before they get the CO, the certificate of occupancy.
But say like it's 5 years later,
Yeah.
you know, how does that?
Yeah, it's, right now, nobody's going back and checking. If we get a complaint, or someone says, oh, the trees all died that they planted, that were supposed to buffer me and the other, then we could go back and say, hey, you need to replant these, because they didn't live.
So, that's a good point, actually, because in one of our ordinances, we've got, if a violation is issued by code enforcement, it's like $100 a day fine.
Yeah, you guys can,
But that's not in here, but it's in our ordinance. Should we be capturing that in this fee schedule?
fines are different, though. You guys have to meet, you guys have to actually meet and set a fine, and that would have to be, that's a little bit more, I don't think it's something you can deal with in a fee schedule. There's state statute that talks about how much you can fine per day. I don't think you can do that in a fee schedule. There might be a court order for a property too. It could be a junkyards and all of those are all different animals, and they usually have to come back here and then you set a fine, a daily fine. But yeah, in a perfect world, it's before they open on day one, all of that's taken care of, and then if it falls, they don't do exactly what they said they did. But the way we're dealing with any kind of complaint or non-compliance or any kind of property issue is we're requiring people to do it in writing. They can do it anonymously if they're not comfortable putting their name on it, but we need it in writing. Otherwise, we'll be chasing our tail. We can't take a phone call or take an email and all that. So if someone emails or calls, we say, this is how you get to the form, please fill out a paper, and then that way it gets in a pile, and we deal with them in the order that they came in. Or unless it's a safety, unless it's a public safety hazard. So that's how we're dealing with that type of stuff. Obviously, some things raised to a higher level than a sign, right? So we'll deal with it when we can get with it and get to it.
The only other department not on here is maintenance. Does maintenance have anything that they deal with fee-wise?
Road entrance.
Or just fall under code, some of the building stuff?
It is in there. They used to be free, and now there's $50 or $75 for a driveway entrance. What was it, third page? You see it?
Driveway entrance?
Yeah, driveway entrance.
Just one last point.
It used to be $50, now it's $75.
Is that, I hear what you're saying, that a bad neighbor is, what is a bad neighbor? It's in the eye of the beholder, but we have this perfect vision statement right now, and I see things in Naples that don't match that vision statement. And so I wonder what we do about that. It's not always just about septic, it's about doing the right thing, but what do you do when something doesn't go to plan? Or something is totally out of character for what we have in this vision statement? I could complain, but then what happens? So it's just something
Right,
that I
that's
think
all
we have, a bigger picture issue that I think we have to consider.
Well, and that goes back to some of my initial questions about even when we were talking about the short-term rental, and we were talking about an on-street parking ordinance, but most of them are on private property. We can't write an ordinance for private road. So what do you do?
What do you do, you grandfather them? I'm not saying
It's
right
private
or wrong.
property, we can't do anything.
Right, you're absolutely right. But how about other things that are here in town, not only on-site parking? How about, Mr. Brackett's got a neighbor over there. Looks like a trash bin, what's being done? Somebody right up here on Lake House Road, another one. It looks like a trash bin.
So we passed an ordinance.
We did pass the property maintenance ordinance, and there's specific criteria. It's not, the lawn isn't mowed, it's specific criteria that's a health and safety issue. And if it meets that threshold, then Randy, first of all, we always try compliance first, right? You want them to comply voluntarily, we don't want to be heavy-handed. And some people need help, and so, Randy's doing a good job. We've had a couple this week, and he's going out and making the initial visit, and the folks are saying, yeah, we're gonna pick up the trash, we're gonna do this, this, and this. If it rises to the elevation that they don't have power or don't have water, then that's another conversation, and it goes quickly. But honestly, it still takes time. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of steps that you have to go through in order, and the goal is to have compliance and not have them have to leave their home. We don't want them to leave their home unless they can't take care of themselves or the home, and it's a safety hazard. So, but we have an ordinance now, and there's a process, and we're following the process. And the first process, part of it is that we need something in writing, someone to write us a complaint or a concern on the form that we have provided, and it can be anonymous. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay.
But it takes time, though. That's
My grandfather, they've been there for 25 years, and somebody said, well, we can't do anything about it. I think.
No, we're not. At the same time, though, the code officer isn't going out looking for things either.
Right.
Because they got enough to do to keep them busy just doing the things that we do.
I certainly understand that,
But,
but you just take it out of the road, and you don't have to do is look at it, it's there, it's under. Yes.
George?
Sorry, to your statement, if I may, just quickly, that's why it's a vision statement where it's forward-looking. It's difficult for us as a committee, we have not gone back and said, well, this was a mess, or this could have been that. Our idea is to try to think that, what the future will look like.
Right.
It may not be the present, it certainly was not the past. Is that helpful?
And I'll add to that. So the other part of the vision statement were those 5 focus areas that I identified. So each of these focus areas are going to have actions, specific actions that have to take place with policy that's going to happen.
Right.
Very similar to what the existing comp plan has. So, there will be actually, who in town is responsible for making this thing happen.
Right.
So that's, part 2.
Make a motion to accept the fee schedule as presented
Second.
With the one correction?
with the correction that Jim indicated.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to adjourn.
So,
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0.